Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the all-time greats, a story that's as chilling as it is unforgettable. Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. I mean, talk about an opening line. Kafka doesn't ease us into it at all. There's no build-up, no backstory. Bam, right from the very first sentence, we are thrown headfirst into Gregor's utterly bizarre and terrifying new reality. So let's start right there, in that first shocking moment. We're going to look at the transformation itself, and then, the part that's arguably even weirder, what's actually going through Gregor's mind. Okay, this is what is so brilliant about this story. You've got this incredible contrast going on. On one hand, you have his body, which is just grotesque. This hard, armor-plated back, a domed belly, and all these tiny, pathetic legs wiggling around. But his mind? His mind isn't screaming in horror. No, it's completely stuck on his normal, everyday anxieties. He's going to miss the train, he hates his job, his family's in debt. It's almost comical, isn't it? Instead of freaking out about, being a giant bug, Gregor is consumed by his work stress. He's literally more worried about the consequences of being late for his job than he is about his own monstrous transformation. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about how dehumanizing his life already was. The job had already trapped him. So Gregor is having this very private, very strange crisis in his bedroom. But of course, he can't keep it a secret forever. The outside world is starting to knock, and his personal nightmare is about to become very, very public. And you can just feel the tension building, can't you? The knocking gets more and more insistent. First, it's his family, and their concern starts to sound a lot like annoyance. And then, as if things weren't bad enough, the chief clerk from his office shows up. Suddenly, this isn't just a weird family issue, it's a full-blown professional crisis. So, after this huge, agonizing effort, using his new mouth parts to turn the key, Gregor finally gets the door open. And then, the big reveal. And the reaction? Is it compassion? Is it concerned? Nope. It's just pure disgust and horror. In that single moment, his family stops seeing their son and brother. All they see is a monster. That initial shock, it doesn't just hang in the air. It almost immediately sours and curdles into something much uglier, outright aggression. This is the moment Gregor's new terrible place in the family gets locked in. The second the chief clerk literally runs screaming out of that apartment, that's it. That's the sound of Gregor's last connection to his old life, his job, his identity, his humanity, being severed for good. There's no going back now. He is completely at the mercy of his family. And mercy, it turns out, is in very short supply. In this just unbelievably brutal scene, his own father grabs a stick and a newspaper and starts violently hurting him back into the room, making these savage hissing sounds at him. Hissing at his own son? And it gets worse. Gregor gets wounded and stuck in the doorway, and his father shoves him the rest of the way through with a powerful kick. A kick. Then the door slams shut and the bolt slides across. And that's the real transformation, isn't it? He's no longer a son, he's an intruder, a prisoner in his own house. So what happens now that he's imprisoned? Well, we get to see the long-term fallout. As the family has to figure out how to live without his paycheck, Gregor starts to fade from a person into, well, just a problem they have to deal with. At the very beginning, there is this tiny flicker of a connection left. His sister, Greta, she's the one who steps up. She starts leaving him food, but she's always super cautious about it, a little repulsed by the whole situation. For a little while, she actually takes a bit of pride in her new role. She figures out that he only likes rotten leftovers and old cheese now, and she notices when he's eaten. For just a moment, you think, okay, maybe this fragile bond, maybe it can survive this. But let's look at the bigger picture here, because the entire family dynamic has been turned upside down. Gregor used to be the sole provider, right? Now he's useless to them financially, so everyone else has to work. The supposedly frau father puts on a uniform and becomes a bank attendant. The mother starts sewing. Greta gets a job as a salesgirl. Gregor has gone from being the family's savior to being its secret shame. And not feeling that he's just a burden. It completely poisons Greta's attitude. Pretty soon her care just becomes a chore. She doesn't bother figuring out what he likes anymore. She just shoves a random bowl of food into the room with her foot. The connection is gone, replaced by pure annoyance. You can probably see where this is all heading. The neglect, the resentment, it's all building to a final violent climax, where the family's emotional rejection becomes a physical one.
The tipping point, funnily enough, comes from a misguided attempt to help. Grant and his mother decide to take the furniture out of his room to give him more space. But to Gregor, this is the last straw. They're erasing his human past. In a panic, he clings to a framed picture on the wall to save it, and that's when his mother sees him, really sees him, and faints dead away.
And guess who walks in at that exact moment? The father. He sees his wife pass down on the floor, assumes the worst, and just unleashes his fury on Gregor. He starts grabbing apples and just pelting him with them. One of the apples hits Gregor so hard that it gets lodged deep in his back, crippling him. This isn't just an angry outburst. This is a sentence. And that apple, it just stays there. It stays in his back, and it starts to rot. It's this horrible, visible souvenir of his father's hatred. And nobody even tries to take it out. They just leave it there. They are literally letting him rot away in his room. Which brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Gregor's body changed overnight, sure, but was that the real metamorphosis? Or was the truly horrifying transformation the one that happened to his family, the one that turned them from loving relatives into people who were capable of such cruelty? Who do you think the real monsters are in this story?